What does it cost if you succeed at the wrong thing for so long that you don't even notice anymore? A few months ago, I was on my way to deliver a keynote at Christie's, and I drove past Morgan Stanley. So, Morgan Stanley is where I worked when I started writing my novel, How to Raise an Art Star. And I did it on my phone on my subway commute. Now, in the present, as I was driving past, my body tensed as I remembered those years. They were years when I wasn't necessarily miserable, but I had this feeling that I was becoming reliably excellent at things that I didn't really want, and maybe that I hadn't actually fully chosen. And sometimes when that happens, when I'm doing something that looks right, my body will let me know by letting me know if it doesn't feel right. Because even when I'm not noticing things, my body usually does. So back to Christie's. I arrived, and when I stepped onto that stage, I didn't have to choose which version of myself was there. I was able to draw from my fiction, but also from my own life, all in the same talk. Because at this point in my life, I've stopped resisting the urge to keep things neatly compartmentalized. Now, just because I've made that decision doesn't necessarily mean that the world is ready for it all of the time. But when I do find places and people and spaces like the folks at Christie's and other places where I've been able to show up as my whole self, as we like to say, that's priceless. And so this week, I'm really excited to share other experiences of what happens when we get off the beaten path. We'll hear from my friend Gene Gerkoff, founder of Charity Miles, who shares honestly his journey from big law to living a life as a founder aligned with meaning, even when he can't always see the whole map. Artists and producers Everest Hall and Mike Rusnak take us inside a shared life built almost literally from the ground up. We talk about art school, self-education, reinvention, homelessness, humor, astrology, and the unexpected power of moving across the country with nothing but one another. One of my other old friends, Kawa Dwogi, who is an entrepreneur and educator, is someone who has lived proudly on what we are calling the fringe frontier since we were kids. And Kawa talks about choosing space over status, even as a highly ambitious person. She shares why she enjoys having Scotland as a second home, what it was like to lose a parent, and also what happened when she had a baby that she wasn't planning for in her 40s. One of my fellow Princeton classmates, Rory Eakin, talks about growing up with an inherited picture of what success was supposed to look like, and then what happens when you start pulling away from it. My friend Sunil Ayagari talks about having the courage to walk away when the dream that you worked so hard to build just doesn't fit anymore. And as we close out this collection of I'm Here Too conversations, I'm curious about what would make you walk away from a Fortune 500 career to become an old founder. And so that's when I talked to my friend from middle school, John Zweifler, who tells us exactly that, what it made for him to walk away from his Fortune 500 company career in order to become a tech founder who is turning real-world language into learnable moments for neurodivergent kids, and how his personal journey inspired a platform that's helping children make more sense of the world around them. Off we go.